Everyone knows of 3D platformers, even if you don't play games. Super Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, A Hat in Time, and Rayman, just to name a few. However, very few are aware of how 3D platforming games started. Well, the game I'll be discussing isn't the first 3D platformer, but rather the first true 3D platformer. The absolute first being Alpha Waves for the Atari ST, but... yeah. Today, we'll be taking a look at Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash!
Jumping Flash is a single-player 3D platforming game with a K2A rating, co-developed by Japanese game companies Exact and Ultra, and published by Sony Computer Interactive for the PlayStation 1. The game was released in Japan on April 28, PAL regions on September 29th, and North America on November 2nd, all in 1995. Jumping Flash was originally shown off as a tech demo for the PS1 under the title Springman, using the same engine as Geograph Seal, a game originally developed for the X68000 home computer system, also made by Exact. On the crater planet, the brilliant astrophysicist Baron Aloha uses a giant robot to remove large chunks from the planet's surface and transform each area into private resorts for himself. At the same time, Baron Aloha has stolen and hidden the jet pods that propel each of the worlds. The residents of Crater Planet contact the Universal City Hall for help, who dispatch one of their agents, a mechanical rabbit named Robert, to retrieve the jet pods, stop Baron Aloha, and return the chunks of land back to the planet. As stated multiple times before, Jumping Flash is a platformer, so jumping plays a pivotal role. The game is spread across 6 worlds with 3 levels each, 2 stages and a boss. The levels are wide open areas with floating platforms to jump on, as well as enemies to defeat, which can be dispatched by jumping on them, firing Robot's laser beams, or by using various one-use power-ups, mostly in the form of fireworks, such as cherry bombs that deal damage in an area, timeout to pause everything except the player and the time counter, and the power pill which grants temporary invincibility. Robert himself is controlled in a first-person perspective, seeing the level from his point of view. But what sets him apart from other platforming mascots is his triple jump ability, which is exactly what it sounds like. The ability to jump 3 times in a row, giving him impressive height. Upon double or triple jumping, the camera pans down, allowing the player to see where they're about to land, even being able to shoot downwards. The objective of each level is to collect the 4 jet pods scattered within, which spell out exit, and reach the exit pad within 4 minutes to finish the level. Due to the game being played in a first-person perspective, the player is also given a heads-up display. Due to the aforementioned perspective, movement follows a semi-tank control style, similar to Croc Legend of the Gobos. Pressing up and down on the D-pad allows you to move forward and back, while left and right causes you to turn left and right. Holding down R1 plants Robert on the ground, allowing the player to look anywhere, up, down, side to side, and diagonally. Jumping is done with the X button, while firing the laser beam is done with square. The 2 bars on the bottom of the screen are Robert's health, with Robert losing a life when the bars are empty. Obviously, losing all lives means a game over. On the left side of the screen is his inventory, showing the items currently in stock, with the limit being 3. When using an item with the circle button, Robert consumes the item at the top of the queue, but with no way to switch objects at the front of the queue for another in the inventory. On the right side of the screen is the radar, which shows enemies, power-ups, and jet pods, but the location of jet pods themselves can be displayed within the main visual range if the player is close enough. At the very top of the screen is the time limit and score. Assisting Robert is a supportive AI known as Kumagoro, who keeps track of how many jet pods have been collected. A technical marvel for its time and a major step forward for 3D platformers. There's a reason why it's often considered to be the first true 3D platforming game, especially when compared to... Obviously, the visuals are heavily dated, being little more than polygons and basic shapes with basic and pixelated graphics. Not to mention the gameplay is incredibly basic, as the abilities you have at the beginning of the game don't change as you progress. The story itself is also practically non-existent. Baron Aloha steals chunks off Crater Planet, so Robert goes to stop him. In the end, Robert wins and the worlds are returned to the planet's surface. The levels are also incredibly easy, taking about a minute or two to do so, due to the sole objective being to collect the jet pods and reach the exit pod. The enemies in each level range anywhere from wander aimlessly to actively trying to attack you. Not that they take much damage before going down anyway. Heck, you can just ignore them if you want to, due to how open most of the levels are, unless they directly get in your way. If you do engage and defeat an enemy, they mostly just drop coins to increase your score, but they occasionally drop power-ups too. While innovative for the time, the controls can be somewhat awkward. As I mentioned before, pressing left or right causes you to turn left or right, but if you're already moving forward while pressing those buttons, you'll move in that direction rather than turn, even continuing after letting go of the up arrow. This can cause some problems when it comes to platforming. There's also the fact that Robert can only perform his multi-jumps when ascending or at the height of his jump, never when descending. And speaking of his jumps, due to the game being played in first person, it makes judging the distance between platforms difficult. For example, if jumping from one floating platform to another, doing a single jump is a gamble since you can't see what's below you. Double jumping would be more than enough to clear the gap, but lets you look down so you can see where you're going to land. Despite that, the exploration aspect of the game more than makes up for it, as just about anything in each level can be jumped on, leading to higher and higher platforms. While the main point of each level is to find the jet pods, you can also find secrets and power-ups which you can carry between levels. And despite the graphics not holding up by today's standards, it more than makes up for it by the levels being colorful and varied. For example, you have an Egyptian world, a carnival world, and a metropolitan world. The stages start out quite small, but later they expand, which can make finding the jet pods harder and thus take more time in each stage. The music is nice and charming, but nothing about it particularly stands out. It does its job setting the mood and providing background music well enough, but the stage tracks aren't really all that memorable. The stage clear theme, however, is the sole exception, being a very catchy tune despite how short it is. Despite how short the game seems, defeating the boss of World 6 actually opens up Extra Mode, which is the same game again but much harder. Enemies are more aggressive, they take and deal more damage, and the jet pods are in different locations. Jumping Flash was essentially the gold standard for 3D platformers until Super Mario 64 came along with its dynamic camera system and 360-degree analog controls. In fact, the infamous Bubsy 3D was based around Jumping Flash and its control scheme. Of course, the controls are nowhere near as polished as it was for Jumping Flash. All in all, I recommend giving this game a try. As I stated before, the game shows its age in many regards, but it's still a capable and enjoyable game in its own right. Even then, it's nice to see a game that was considered groundbreaking and innovative for the time, being a prime example of a 3D platforming game before Super Mario 64 reinvented the wheel. The game was successful enough to get a sequel in the form of Jumping Flash 2, which was released in 1996. Of course, it comes with enhanced graphics, greater draw distance, improved enemy AI, and even the stage clear theme gets a remix. There were also two Japanese-only games, Robot Mon Dieu, sometimes referred to as Jumping Flash 3, and Pocket Moo Moo, both being released in 1999 for the PS1 and Pocket Station respectively. However, due to mixed reviews of both Japanese-only games, combined with Exact Closure in 1999, the series has not received any new entries since then. If you want to play Jumping Flash 1, it's available on the PlayStation Store for PlayStation 3, 4, and 5, as well as the PSP and Vita. Jumping Flash 2, however, is only on the PSP and PS3 store. And this was my first video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll be uploading a new video next month about another overlooked gem. I won't say exactly what it'll be, but I'll give you a hint. He's already stolen Christmas, and now he's claiming Halloween as his own.